Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 2, consists of me, Dewi Sartika, Larasatun Hasanah, Lia Indriani Pancali, and I'm Rifqi Pratama Putra. In this video, we will tell you about social aspect of interlanguage. And for content that will be discussed, the first is interlanguage as stylistic continuum, and then the acculturation model of second language acquisition and social identity and investment in second language learning. So the first is about interlanguage as a stylistic continuum. According to Elaine Taran, she has proposed that interlanguage involves a stylistic continuum. She argued that learners develop a capability for using the second language and that underlies all regular behavior. Thus, the learner are able to attain their choice of linguistic form as when they feel they need to be correct, and they are able to make choice of linguistic form spontaneously. Stylistic continuum, there are two. The first is careful style. It means that when learners are consciously attending to their choice of linguistic form as when they feel they need to be correct. And the second is vernacular style. It means that when learners are making spontaneous choice of linguistic form as is likely in a free conversation. Taran also has number of problems such as learners are not always most accurate in their careful style and least accurate in their vernacular style. Also, the role of social factor remains unclear.
Okay, the next is accommodation theory by Howard Gills. It explains how learner social group influence the course of second language acquisition, and the key idea of this story is social accommodation. So the key is social accommodation. So how the social of person influence their second language, and there are two processes of accommodation theory. The first one is convergent and the second one is divergent. Convergent is when people interact each other, they either try to make their speech similar to that of their addressee in order to emphasize social cohesiveness, and divergent is when people interact with each other, they either try to make it different in order to emphasize their social distinctiveness.
Alright, I'm Lia. So I will continue to explain the material. Now we are going to talk about the acculturation model of second language acquisition. In second language acquisition, the acculturation model is a theory proposed by John Schumann to describe the acquisition process of a second language by members of ethnic minorities that typically include immigrants, migrant workers, or the children of such groups. This acquisition process takes place in natural contexts of majority language setting. The main suggestion of the theory is that the acquisition of a second language is directly linked to the acculturation process, and learners' success is determined by the extent to which they can orient themselves to the target language culture. So, social factors determine the amount of contact with the second language individual learners experience, and thereby how successful they are in learning. And you can see in the display there are two problems with Schumann's theory. The first, it fails to acknowledge that factors like integration pattern and attitude are not fixed and static, but potentially variable and dynamic, fluctuating in accordance with the learner's changing social experiences. And second, it fails to acknowledge that learners are not just subject to social conditions that can also become the subject of them. They can help to construct the social context of their own learning. And that's all for my explanation. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Pratama Putra, and I will explain to you about social identity and investment in second language learning. The first point is the notion of subject to and subject of are central to body view of relationship between social context and second language acquisition. The second point is Bonnie also argues that language learners have complex social identities that can only be understood in terms of power relationship. So, what is social identity? So, according to Bornian Fear, social identity is multiple and contradictory, which means that when learners are able to summon up or construct an identity that enables them to impose their right to be heard and thus become the subject of the discourse. What is the founding on Bornian Fear social theory? Bonnie's social theory of second language acquisition apports a different set of metaphors which involve a struggle and investment. Second is successful learners are those who reflect critically on how they engage with native speakers and who are prepared to challenge and the accepted social order by constructing and asserting social identity of their own choice. So that's all for my presentation for today. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.